I believe this is inch and 120, so we're just going to go 1 1/8 drill. We don't need to make it real tight there. A little clearance on that bronze lead nut will be fine. Alright, now we'll just give it a little break on the with the countersink here. Chamfer the bore. Flip it over and we'll kick off the other side. Now when I'm trying to put something in the, if I can find it here. Alright, I get a flat ring. I know it's flat, and then I can put it against the jaws and hold the part into the back side, and this will flush out. Alright. Then when you run it, it runs true. Okay, and we should have a nice reasonable fit there. Alright. Now I got the other one, we'll go put some holes in this. Okay, we've taken and set up our coaxial indicator around our part there. We decided to do this with the jaws down. This barely sits on the lip, so we got good support all the way around. Now we're going to go ahead and because we got so many holes, and these are going to be fairly precision holes, so we don't want to just start them with a drill. We want to center drill each and every one of them, go around, make sure that we got them all in place, kind of get a good eyeball before we actually drill a hole all the way through there. So we're just going to be going around and putting in a slight little dimple that will just give us a little bit. I like running the wrench in here because I can get a easy pull, because we're only moving very little to the next spot there. And you don't have to hurt your hands or whatever pulling on the jaws. Center drill doesn't necessarily have to be all the way down to where you put the bevel. Especially on small holes. And right back in the same hole. Okay, we just ran our tap down through the holes because when we chamfered the back side there, we had a little burr roll off inside, and we're all cleared out now. We're going to go ahead and put these in place because starting tomorrow we're probably going to be drawing up our bracket that's going to come over and be welded and hold the yoke in place and then be bolted to the side of the car itself. It's kind of the plan on these. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to slip these down on the bottom there, bring them on up, and they'll be into this area right here for tomorrow to play with. We figured each hole location, because this is a ½ an inch per one revolution, well, there's 12 indexings in there, so 12 into that, that gives you about 41 thousandths, I guess, per hole location. So, you know, that would 41 thousandths, and then this thing is from lead screw to lead screw, I think we're like 67 inches, something like that. So it's less than a thousandth per inch across here difference from one hole to the other hole is what we figured out. Of course, everything's going to be drilled and timed for the first initial. The only time that you're going to need that in hand is if you wear out a set of nuts and then have to replace them, and just happen to by chance whether they screw in and the lead is located in the same place in relationship to your nut. That's where you're going to want the adjustment. So it's kind of a future thing. It's not so much important as far as putting this together. I mean, you could slam it together and it could be a foreign operation. Excuse my conversation there. Well, we got these up in place and we can start really thinking about it. I'm holding the car all the way against the end there. And somewhere in this ballpark here is where the nut is actually going to join the side of the car on both sides. And I decided to bring you up a little bit more. So, I mean, you know, we're going to have the box tube come in, and there's going to be a flange joiner right here. So they're both going to be about 5½ inch diameter flange, 6 bolts. One's going to have an opening that's going to be a rectangle. The box tube that's going to go down and grab the back of the TV. And the other one is going to be mounted, you know, right on the end of our rotating unit. We did get our supports in here, so we were able to go ahead and get the tension on here so that we know that when we hang weight and everything else, we're not going to be pulling down on this top bar here and having a sloppy bearing down there. We need to hold those two bearings stout, and we're going to have that going on. Of course, this thing's never going to spin. It's only going to be 180 degrees. We're going ahead and setting up, we're going to be cutting 2 new sprockets. We already know that we're going to have this so it's adjustable, but we're going to have a set screw that will go down and dimple through on the nut to lock the lower nut to the threaded spindle where we want it. It will have 6 pins coming out of the nut, and we're going to cut the sprocket solid and then drill a matching hole pattern to slip over the 6 pins coming out. The top nut will come down and jam it, and that's how our sprocket is going to lock to the shaft, and we're going to have a positive drive. We're still thinking on how we're going to put a solid stop in 180 degree from each other. We got a couple other ideas for that. The 2 bars here will have a plasma cutout plate, and it'll be a sliding adjustment so that we can adjust all the backlash out of whatever size chain we use. You know, length of chain and the combinations of sprockets. I am cutting out a couple different smaller sprockets so we can play around maybe with the gear ratio there. And we are making them out of 3/16. We're getting ready to burn those now. And then we will skim them if we have to in the lathe to bring them down to the right thickness. We just want a little bit stouter than that 1/8. That's all. We're just shooting for what we can there. Now on this outside here, as soon as we get the rest of the cable management system in there, and we kind of, we might be working some of this in place because, you know, there's some unknowns when we get this thing stood up, and the space that we have above the closet in the attic of the house there. So we might be playing with that. And I will be putting some kind of a shroud or a shield over the top to keep debris from going into these bearings, both down there and up here. You know, it's not going to have to be a heavy duty seal just to keep stuff from falling into it. Like I said, it's only going to turn 180 degrees.